So I've been noticing my recording quality sound-wise has been going down, so I'm going to try to fix that by changing the settings on my computer. But while I do that, I'm going to make a video. Might not be able to hear any of it, though. What should I do a video about? I know. You know, a lot of my critics say, "Oh, you try to act like a big man on the internet," totally disregarding the fact that I've mentioned that I like to watch Charmed and True Blood, and I've done not one but two different critiques of the Twilight series. But, you know, whatever. This is going to be another one of those videos. It's going to be about the Vampire Diaries. But let me check my sound. Now, of course, the Vampire Diaries is marketed to teenage girls, and everything about the show, you know, has a sort of high school mindset about it. And I think part of the reason I like shows like that is because I never went to high school, and it gives me a little glimpse into the high school mentality. It's just a fascinating social paradigm, the whole high school experience. And it starts off with old Elena Gilbert. She's just this very plain-looking girl, and then it's just like Twilight. Plain-looking girl, not terribly interesting. And then a vampire guy, Stefan, you know, takes an interest in her. And he has a magic ring that allows him to walk in the sunlight, but most vampires can't. They die. And by the way, one thing that bothers me is when a vampire series doesn't satisfactorily explain why nobody notices that there are vampires. Now, they have the ability to compel people, sure, but when a vampire dies, he doesn't like turn to dust or anything. It's just like a rotting vampire corpse, and it looks very different than a human corpse. They don't even seem the slightest bit concerned that the authorities are eventually going to be like, what is with all these mutated fucking corpses? We need to look into this. Why are there all these people with their hearts ripped out? And, you know, by the way, people get their hearts ripped out quite a bit in the Vampire Diaries. Like, somebody will just be talking like, blah, 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 blah. They'll fall down and there will be somebody standing behind them holding a heart. And that's one of the things I like about it. Unlike Twilight, they're not total fucking pussies. People die all the time in this show. Like, 80% of the original cast has been killed and or turned into vampires. So, another way that Vampire Diaries is way better than Twilight is the plot continues to move forward. They're not just always they're not just dealing with the same shit over and over without resolving it. There's new shit coming in and, like, fucking with them. Like, first, it's Stefan and Elena. They're just trying to, Stefan's trying to hide that he's a vampire and have a romance with Elena. And by the way, it's pretty creepy when a 100-year-old is, like, trying to have a relationship with a 16-year-old. I mean, that's, like, if I went down to a high school right now and tried to have a relationship with a 16-year-old, they would throw me in fucking prison, and I am nowhere near 100. Anyway. But his brother Damon, the evil vampire, gets in the way. And then, eventually, they get Damon and Stefan sort of playing on the same side against a league of council members in the town who are trying to kill vampires. And then, the council member's daughter gets turned into a vampire. They become pro-vampire. And then, more problems. Then original vampires start coming in, and these are like there's like 6 original vampires that all vampires came from, and they start fucking shit up, and they gotta plot against them. And then it turns out that if you kill an original vampire, every vampire that came from them also dies, so they gotta figure out which one they came from. Like always, there's new things that need to be conquered and new alliances to be formed. And then they even team up with the original vampires who they were just fighting in the last season to fight a new uber vampire that they just dug up because they're trying to get Elena from being a vampire, turn her from being a vampire into a human. And by the way, she gets turned into a vampire. I should have mentioned that. I mean, it really, constant plot moving forward. An excellent vampire show. Well, I think it's funny, though, how you can see the teenage mentality in it. Like, one of these original vampires is this pretty girl, and nobody likes her, but she's still hanging out in this town of Mystic Falls. And at first I was like, why doesn't she just leave and go somewhere? She's a hot girl. She's immortal. I mean, I don't understand why she's hanging around with all these people that hate her. And then it dawned on me, high school. In high school, that's how it is. You can't get away from people who you're in like these social interactions with because you're basically dependent on your parents. And this mentality transfers over to her, even though in real life she'd just be like, fuck you guys, I'm going to another town where they appreciate hot girls. Anyway, I think I've done enough sound checking. Everybody tell me how this video does audio-wise. TTFN.